Welcome everyone. Hello. Hi. 안녕하세요. Trying. My name's Nicola, and I am Director of Recruitment for ArtCenter College of Design. And I very much appreciate this time to get to speak with you about the programs that we offer at ArtCenter. This presentation today will go through what is an ArtCenter education, our programs of study, and then how, if you'd like, you would apply to ArtCenter. But I do always like to start the conversation with why, like why art and design. And it is definitely something I'm very passionate about and love. I am an artist and designer myself. And I'm always a little bit envious when I do these presentations, because one, I would love to do it all again. If I could start over and do it all again, I totally would. And two, I grew up in Iowa, which is smack dab in the middle of the United States, a very small rural area, right? No one recruits out of Iowa. No one came to my school or my town and did a presentation like this. I know if they had, I would have chased them down. But more importantly, the information, what I love about this presentation is that it shows you, it demonstrates to you all the different ways that you can channel your creative skills and talents into a career. I did fine art. I'm not regretting that. I love it. It was the only path I knew of. Looking back, I didn't know what graphic design was. I didn't know what product design was. I didn't know about transportation design. So it's really, I think you're really lucky to get to learn, because there are just a lot of ways you can channel that creative spirit, that creative talent into some very fulfilling careers. And that's really what a school like ArtCenter wants to support you in doing. So, and also on top of that all, right now is a great time for creatives. There are a lot of opportunities in a variety of fields where companies are looking for creatives. They're looking for people who can think and solve problems differently and can bring innovation and entrepreneurship to make their companies successful and competitive. So it is a very good time. Artists and designers are actually in high demand right now. So if that's something you want, something you may want to pursue, you may want to consider, your next step is education, you may want to consider an ArtCenter education. And there's some things about ArtCenter that make it pretty distinct and different than other schools of art and design, and certainly as opposed to going to a liberal arts college. So we were originally founded in downtown Los Angeles. We are currently located in Pasadena, which is adjacent to Los Angeles. We were originally founded in 1930, so we've had 85 years of a pretty proven track record. And we were founded with the mission of providing that direct connection from education to industry, to basically provide professional, rigorous, specialized education in the creative fields so that we can produce and prepare professional working artists and designers. Very much geared toward careers. We offer 11 different undergraduate degree programs now, and you will graduate either with a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, or a Bachelor of Science, which would be the industrial design. And the thing that does make ArtCenter a bit different than a lot of other schools is we don't do a foundation year, meaning you apply directly into one of these programs and then you start day one in that program. And the reason we've set it up that way is then you have the full 8 semesters to take that deep dive, so that we can give you the comprehensive and specialized degree program that we feel is necessary, and you have this chance of, I think of it as a luxury of 8 semesters to really, really focus, and your portfolio when you graduate will reflect that, because again, it's an extended amount of time. It does put a little onus on you as a prospective student. You need to decide, and like I said, I love them all. It would be hard for me to pick my favorite, but you'll choose one and then commit to that and specialize in it. The school itself is about 1,800 undergrad, 200 graduates, so about 2,000 now, which makes us about medium size in terms of schools of art and design. It feels like a community. It feels like a very close community. And we actually have 500 faculty members, roughly 500, which is a lot. We have that many because it is required in order to teach at ArtCenter that you're a practicing professional, working in the field that you teach, which is critical because everyone knows things are moving quick, right? Things always are changing. So to ensure that our students are getting of the moment information, people who have their fingers on the pulse of what's happening, they have to be out there working in those fields. And the class sizes are usually this size would be a large class. They're 12 and under usually. A large class with 15 would be considered a large class. So you get this great classroom setting where you get a lot of personal attention. This is actually, so we'll look at a couple snapshots of faculty. This is Simon Johnston, who is an award-winning graphic designer, and he's director of print in our graphic design program. He designed our catalogs this past year. He's designed numerous publications that have been award-winning. He also designed the cover of one of my most favorite design books, which is called False Flat. It's a Dutch design book. I love it. I recommend it. But I just mentioned it, that it was my favorite book, and Simon's like, oh yeah, I designed the cover. I'm like, you're kidding me. That's so cool and weird at the same time. So very, very well known, amazing designer. Christina Castalla teaches in our product and industrial design program, and Christina herself is a designer. She has launched over 80 products into the marketplace, selling at places like Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Dwell. So she knows how to take an idea into manufacturing, into merchandising, and getting it out into distribution as well. So she helps with that. She's helping our students with that process. Patrick Henningberger is an alum, and he graduated from transportation design, but he works as a concept artist. So he has worked with places such as Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks in character development, and oftentimes creating the actual physical forms of these characters, what you might consider the swag that goes along with a movie. And then Henry Taylor is not a full-time, or not a, he was a visiting artist that we brought in. So we're in Pasadena, but is adjacent to Los Angeles, which means we have a rich cultural environment from which we can pull. I mean, it is a hub. It is an artistic, creative, entertainment hub of the world. So we have all these great resources. So we often bring in new visiting artists to spend a semester with us to, again, always keep things very current and to always expose our students to what does it mean to be a working artist. So we actually had Henry in for one semester, and then we brought him back for a second because he was so gracious and fantastic. And the classroom experience, as I said, basically classes are around 9 to 12 students per class, and it's project-based learning, meaning you're working on projects throughout the semester, and then it's based on critique. You're constantly presenting your work for critical feedback from your faculty, but also your classmates. And at a place like ArtCenter, it will be your colleagues and classmates that will compel you to be better, because everyone there went through a rigorous application process, and everyone there is committed to this passion of becoming a professional. So they will compel you as much as your faculty. This is a snapshot of some of the places that we have been lucky to have sponsored projects from. This is just some. Every semester we have multiple sponsored projects happening. What that means is a company came specifically to ArtCenter with some kind of problem or project they wanted our students to work on. So companies such as Nike or Samsung or Disney. And they, first of all, for us, they need to fund it. They need to give us a minimum of $75,000. And that money does go to support our students in the work, their material costs and whatnot. But more importantly, it means they're there day one to kick off the project. So representatives from these companies are on campus working with our students. They come back 3 weeks later to hear their first pitch. They come back for midterms, so our students are presenting directly to them, to Microsoft, to Volkswagen, to Honda. And then they're there for the finals. So it's a minimum of 4 points of contact for our students with these working professional, great networking opportunity. Often leads to internships and or potentially job offers as well. So for instance, we worked with Nestle, who owns Purina, to do a repackaging, a rebranding of their Smart Blend dog food to make it more user-friendly, more up-to-date, and also environmentally friendly. So these were graphic design students, illustration students, and environmental design students all working in this one sponsored project, which makes for a very vibrant learning environment when you have multiple programs working together.
Is that a class?
It's a sponsored project, so yes, it's a class. It's a 14-week class, yep. And then this is another snapshot of just some of the places our students have gone for internships. In the past year, we had 200 students literally all over the world at 200 different internships. We very much encourage our students to take advantage of our internship program. You're eligible after your 5th semester. And you'll do, there's reasons for doing internships. The main reason is experience and to get that work in your portfolio or to get it on your resume, right? It's great to experience, like, is it a big big company that I want to work at, or is there a more boutique company? What is going to fit me the best? But we also ensure that our students are getting compensated for their time. So either credit, school credit, and or pay. A lot of times our internships are for, they're monetarily reimbursed. And then we also ensure that they're doing design work. They're not going off and making copies for people or running errands. They're doing design. Great story about Tesla. A student that was in graphic design but loves cars, so it made sense that he was at ArtCenter because we have transportation and graphic design, right? But he loves Tesla too, so as he said it, he harassed them into giving him an internship. And before the end of his internship, he was 6th semester at ArtCenter. Before the end, Elon Musk, the owner, you know, the god of Tesla, offered him a job. So now Bryce has been there for, well, he had a dilemma. He's like, I've got 2 semesters left. What do I do? It's my dream job. So of course he says yes and takes it. And then we worked with him so that he could graduate. He completed his last 2 semesters. We gave him credit for work, worked it out. And he's been there, I think, 3 years now, still head designer. He came to ArtCenter straight from high school, so he's about 24 years old now, which is pretty amazing. And then the other big important part of ArtCenter is our commitment to the fact that is the creatives are going to solve some problems, that it is our role as creatives to address some issues that face us as a society, as a culture, as a world. So we have a program called Design Matters, and it's exactly that. It's social impact. We have the ranking of an NGO. We're one of the few educational institutions that has that, a non-government organization, which allows us to team up with other NGOs. UNICEF is an NGO, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, so we can have a greater impact through this collab. So this is from a project we've done that's called Safe Agua, where we sent our students into highly impoverished communities, and we've done 4, I believe. So we've done Safe Agua Chile, Safe Agua Peru, and Safe Agua Colombia, and I can't remember where the 4th place was, but very impoverished communities in these countries where water is a huge scarcity. So we were helping assist them in bettering their lives by improving their water options. So we send our students there, they live there for 60 days, they observe, they research, and they design around real life. And we've actually launched 4 projects now into distribution, into manufacturing and distribution, so it doesn't end when that class ends. We continue. And that's just one example. We do things in LA, we do things in Pasadena, we've done things in Africa, so as much as we can. And that's not a major. It's an area of concentration that any student, regardless of their major, could declare to become a Design Matters in product design or whatever. Then we do, again, back to industry, we do expect our students to make work up to industry standard. And so if we have that expectation, we definitely have to give you the resources and the facilities to do that. And I will just say, I think of ArtCenter as like the wonderland for making. Pretty much everything and anything you could ever want or need is available, from photo to film to product design, transportation design. It's all there, and even better, it's we have incredible technicians to help you as well that are experts in the field to assist you with your projects. And then again, we are in Pasadena, adjacent to Los Angeles, which really just gives us a wealth of opportunities and resources. I mean, of course, there's great food, as there is here. There's great cultural institutions. There are beaches and there are mountains. You could theoretically snowboard or surf, though if you're a student, you're not going to have time for that. It's not going to happen during break. You can do it during break, not during the semester. And then, you know, just opportunities. I mean, it is entertainment land. It is, we're West Coast, Southern California, so it's where a lot of new technology is being born. We're not far from Silicon Valley, so there's pretty much everything and anything available. So now we'll dive into the programs. We also do offer, in addition to our undergraduate, we have 6 graduate degree programs. Graduate Arts, that'd be an MFA, Graduate Environmental Design, Master of Science, Graduate Film, back to an MFA, Industrial Design, Media Design, and Transportation Design, and that's all part of the community. They're also located, we're a growing campus. We actually have 2 campuses now, but it's still one big community, and the grad students are all part of that too. So the first program we'll talk about is illustration, which is the largest program at ArtCenter. And it is the largest because we actually break it into 5 tracks. So we distill it even further down from just illustration. So illustration, you know, plain and simply put, is a love for drawing, right? It's a love for drawing, and it's a desire to have a career drawing, which most of you who love to draw, that should sound super exciting. But you may then also be like a little suspicious, like, really, I can support myself through my drawings? I'm not sure about that. And I'll mention this is all current student work, not graduates. It's all current students in the program. And that's when I'll just challenge you, though, when it comes to illustration, like, drawings are everywhere. They are around us all day, all the time. They're on cereal boxes, they're in magazines, they're on websites, sides of buses, sides of buildings. You know, they are everywhere. And you just have to remind yourself every time you see a drawing, someone was hired and paid to do that. And that's awesome. And that's what we're preparing you to do. And as I said, we distill it down into 5 tracks. The first is the design track, which is that client-driven, preparing the visuals to meet the demands or the requirements for a client, visual storytelling, right? The second is fine art, which is a less client-driven, although you think of the galleries, museums as your clients, and it is more about your take and your ideas, but still really high technical skills. So you have that backup plan too to do client work as well. Then there's entertainment arts, which is similar to entertainment design, but it is a BFA. It's a Bachelor of Fine Arts. So it's a little more playful, a little more fanciful, and not beholden to the idea that everything has to be believable and real. I think of entertainment arts as not so scary monsters, and I think of entertainment design as scary, scary monsters. And we'll see entertainment design in a minute. And then there is our motion design track, which is not animation. It is moving drawings, for lack of a better way to describe it. So that still like amazes me that that's student work. That feels like that should be out there in the world. And then one last track, and then we're almost done with one program, and that's surface design. So we have a new track that is about creating images to be placed on various different surfaces, be it fabric, be it ceramics, be it products, be it wallpaper. So it's the licensing out of your drawings. Okay, so that was all one. That was just illustration. So now we'll discuss fine art, which is another BFA program. And fine art is fairly significantly different than all the programs at ArtCenter because it isn't the client-driven career. It is learning to work for yourself, and it's not relegated to any one particular method or material of making. The goal and what our students are doing is they're searching, you think of fine artists as having something to say, but they're not going to say it straightforward. So they're finding the material that matches their message and how they're going to communicate that message. This is a really lovely piece. This is a student who is of Mexican descent, and it's relating, or it's her memory of her grandmother washing clothes in the sink back in Mexico. And so she went out and hired, in LA you can hire day workers. They're usually Mexican guys. For the day, you hire them for the day. So she went and hired a day worker to help her build this mold to recast it in concrete. So it's got a lot of layers about her history of being in LA and her memories of Mexico, and it's a pretty tenuous relationship right now. So a very interesting multi-layered piece, quite sophisticated for a young artist. They do installations, multimedia installations, and this program we now have a new building for it, for fine art and illustration, and we now offer over 50 individual studios for our students at the undergraduate level. So they have a space to work that's safe, secure, and they have 24/7 access to it. So really creating this vibrant community for our students to immerse themselves in their practice. So now we'll speak about our first Bachelor of Science program, which is entertainment design, which I mentioned a minute ago a little bit in reference to entertainment arts. So this is an industrial design program, and plain and simply put, entertainment design is concept art. You want to become a concept artist, so making designs for things like movies, special effects, theme park design, even game design, obviously. So it's but the role of an entertainment designer or concept artist is very much to create these entire virtual worlds and everything that populates them in a way that is both fantastical and out of this world, but remains completely believable. So you wear two hats. You wear the hat of an industrial designer because you're creating vehicles, you're creating props, you're creating spaces that again act and behave as if they're real. But then you also are telling stories. So that's a hat more similar to, say, illustration. So you're creating characters and then you're populating these worlds with all the things that complete a story. So they're looking at real and they're morphing from that. They're moving from the real into something new, something unexpected, something from out of this world or from past worlds. So high technical skills, both in the traditional drawing sense, but also in the digital sense, but then also in the making sense. So this is a second semester project where the students have to pitch a helmet design and it's not just a helmet, it's a helmet that furthers the story or shares the character, explains the characteristics of the person who would be wearing this helmet, right? So it's the storytelling aspect. But then they have to go into the shop and they have to make it, starting with clay body and then completing it out. So again, second semester. So they've completed one semester and we throw this at them. So at the final presentation, it's this incredibly well-crafted, made helmet that again is telling the story of the wearer of that helmet. So again, two hats, industrial design and illustrators all in one, which is why it is a highly competitive program. We bring in 17 students twice a year. And now we have a new track in entertainment design. We have that last one was concept art. We now offer character animation, which we're very excited about. Just started it this fall, and it is very much about the breathing of life into characters and how through their physicality they are more interesting. So it's definitely, you are a designer, you're a storyteller, you're an illustrator, but you're also an actor. You will be taking acting classes and filming yourself or bringing in people to film and using that information to, again, bring to life your characters. We're pretty excited about it. I can't show you any work yet because we just started, but we have a lovely small class and we're just excited for more. So related to that is film, back to a BFA program, but related because it's in the entertainment world, right? And clearly our location is great for this program. It also is a small program because it needs a lot of space and equipment. So to ensure our students have access to all that, we keep it small. It's also a program where you're going to come in for a semester and you're going to make a film. Not a lot of film programs are going to offer you that. So by the time you graduate, you're going to have a professional reel of your work ready to shop around. And we also are one of the few schools where the students actually own the rights to their work. This is a commercial made by our students. So it's definitely a narrative-based program intended for commercial audiences, meaning they're making anything ranging from commercials to music videos to feature-length films, even television shows, but not so much in the really experimental, artsy way, very much intended for commercial audiences. We're gonna skip this. Which leads us to photography and imaging related, but now obviously no longer moving images. And like our film program, it prepares you to go into any genre of photography. And we really don't think about it. Our students are not taking pictures, which may seem weird. Like, it's a photography. Isn't that what they do? They take pictures. They're making images. They're crafting images. They're thinking about lighting and composition and cultural impact and storytelling. So it's very much about crafting images. And as I said, they can go into any genre, be it portraiture, or be it landscape, or be it fashion. This is actually a current student who was hired by Urban Outfitters to shoot for them. So these are work from her experience with Urban Outfitters. Current student, which is great. I mean, she's doing professional work. That helps pay your student bills as well, right? The tuition. So you could go into fashion. You could go into food. Food photography is huge, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. So there's a lot of different ways, but we start our students out in film. They learn to work in black and white, they learn to work in color, and then they move on to digital, because we do strongly believe, you know, for a photographer, then there's sports. I think we forget about, like, that's a huge field, sports photography. So we do believe that, you know, it's true, for a photographer, the camera's their tool. Like, that's their main tool, right? Their mode of expression. So in order to fully manipulate it, you need to completely understand it. So we start them out at the basics and move them through this progression. Product photography. Product photography is very much about branding and identity, and has really become a whole field in itself. In a different way. It's not just straightforward, you know, either white background, gray background. It's very much about crafting a brand. So that leads us to, speaking of branding, graphic design. This is actually our second largest program. And it's a field that's it's kind of exploded. It's pretty much everywhere. It used to be graphic designers came in at the end and made things look pretty. Now it's about creating that identity before even launching something. At its heart and soul, it's all about typography, right? It's about typography, and it's all about communication. And it's how you can communicate through the combination of images and type together to say something more, to get at the essence, or to really get at the identity of something. I love this. This is for the LA Opera, which you think of opera as kind of old and tired or maybe boring. This says everything but that. I mean, it says oh la, and it's just like super seductive, and I think that's just an amazingly bold and great design. This is for a book, so they'll design entire books where they're crafting the viewer, the user's experience through that publication. So cover, back, front, layouts, how that, so they create entire books, which blows me away. Packaging design, huge field. Think about how we're influenced by how something is packaged and how that may make you choose one product versus another one. And then we do think, oh, and then there's also motion design in graphics. So similar to motion design, but very different field. The other one was very much about moving drawings. This is definitely about moving graphics. So dramatic. I love that. And then we do think of our students very much working transmedia and how they're delivering a unified identity across the spectrum.
Transmedia is a toolbox.
Transmedia is all forms of media.
Transmedia means to transcend far beyond the expected.
Transmedia is the connective tissue between technologies, new or old, appropriated through graphic design.
It's especially interesting to me because a lot of these things are new. And for me, I am experimenting through it. And through my experimentations, I'm learning a lot, and then I get to express it in my own way.
I love it because it is my way of storytelling. Some people choose to dance, some people choose to write, but transmedia is what I practice, and that's how I like to kind of unfold and unveil different stories.
And through expressing it, it's reaching an audience in the new way as well. And for them, it's creating new experiences, new way of thinking.
Apparently we're in a really exciting time. We're in a time where we have so much technology, but at the same time we want to connect back to our roots. So we're connecting both of those worlds and creating things that hasn't been done before. So it's pushing the boundaries.
For example, say I have a bunch of content that I want to present. I could choose to make that into a film, I could make it a painting, I could blast it on a screen, or I could, carve it into stone. So the methods that I choose to present that sort of change what I'm saying in the end.
It means that we're able to combine 2D, 3D, maybe 4D if you prefer, technologies into something that's seamless and ready for the future.
My name is Nicola Vruwink, and I'm a graphic student at ArtCenter College of Design.
My name is Paula Meras. I'm a graphic design student at ArtCenter College of Design.
My name is Perlin Lee, and I'm currently a graphic design student at ArtCenter College of Design.
My name is Pei, and I'm a graphic design student at ArtCenter.
Paola just graduated and she just got a job at BMW, which is great. And Pei is going to graduate this next semester, but she just spent her summer at JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Lab, which is adjacent to Pasadena. That's NASA. So she was working with the Mars rover and literally with rocket scientists, which I think is crazy cool. Which leads very nicely into our next program, which is interaction design. And this is a huge field right now. Everyone wants to hire interaction designers, and it's a field that's going to continue to grow and become more and more part of our day-to-day lives. And it is, for lack of a better way to explain it, it's user experience. It's how we interact with different spaces, different technologies, different products that have an interactive component. So it could be the architecture of a website and how that's more user-friendly or more interesting. Certainly companies want more beautiful, more experience-based websites. It could be coming up with a new app and making something more user-friendly or to help people. And those are kind of the base ones. It's actually an industrial design program, so it could be designing the new product that offers this interactive component to it. So it's not just behind screens, and it can be, but a lot of it's about user experience. So a lot of it is how do people think, engaging with them, observing them, setting up scenarios, studying them, and then sometimes it's literally working with Arduinos and creating a new way for things to interact, to move. This is a really interesting piece. It's a scarf that monitors the air quality. So you could wear it if you had allergies or were asthmatic, or just because you live in a particularly smoggy land. And you would then wear it if it alerted you, and it would filter the air. So I think that's really, really super cool. I think they need to work on the style aspect of it, because I would not wear that yet. It needs to be better looking, but it's a great idea. So we could team up with our illustration students and get a good surface design and make something amazing. Which leads to advertising, which is a BFA. And we were one of the very first schools to offer this BFA. We're one of the only schools still offering a true BFA in advertising. And I think we all know what advertising is, right? It's selling stuff. It's promoting and selling and hopefully encouraging you to purchase or use or attend something. So challenging field though. There's a lot of visual noise out there. There's a lot of things coming at us. So how do you cut through that noise and create something that captures someone's attention, that creates an impact and hopefully, again, encourages them to purchase or use it? So your role as the ad person is the concept. It's the idea that you will then collaborate with others. So like the earlier ones, the drawing ones, that was collaboration between an ad student and an illustration student. So their role, again, is very much coming up with that concept, and then the execution may be very much a collaborative effort. It also, I will say, yes, it is selling stuff, it's commercial, but there are other applications for ad which can be very much for social awareness or social change. This was an idea about helping support the arts that are underfunded, but I always think of like things like the Pink Ribbon campaign, That's an ad campaign, right? It's to increase awareness of breast cancer. It's been hugely successful. So it doesn't always have to just be, not that there's anything wrong with selling stuff, but it could have other applications as well, or does. And now we're down to our last three, which are our remaining industrial design programs. So environmental design is, simply put, it's spatial experience design. And this is also a pretty hot field. People want, or companies want, that branded experience to expand throughout their identity. So the space. So it could be restaurants, it could be hotels, it could be a better library, a better bus stop. But what they're crafting is the experience of it. It could be living even, but they're crafting the experience of that space. And that includes everything involved in that space. So a component of this is furniture and lighting, which sets it aside from, say, interior design, because the focus is the experience and you are crafting that entire experience. So again, this is work made at ArtCenter by our students. It shows you the range and the craft aspect of design. And this came from a collaborative or exchange program that we do with Tama University outside of Tokyo. So every semester, every year it switches. We send students there, they send students to us. So it's this great cultural experience. So this was a focus on lighting design. And this is an example of classroom to marketplace. We just actually did an exhibition of chairs that were either students, faculty, or alums that went from the classroom into the marketplace. So this was designed as a student, by a student, and Bernhardt Furniture, which is a pretty big company, then liked the design, purchased it, and manufactured and distributed it while he was still a student, so pretty great. And then the last two are biggies for us because they're programs we've been ranked, well, we're just very well known for, and in terms of product design, we've been ranked the #1 undergraduate and graduate program for, I believe, the last 14 or 15 years by Design Intelligence. And product design really is the designing of the things we use in day-to-day life that we kind of forget. You know, they make our lives easier. And when design's done really, really well, you almost cease to notice it. Again, these are things made by our students. So this is a jogging stroller for active dads. So maybe not used in everyone's day-to-day lives, but some people's. This is a helmet that protects you in extreme sports, particularly snow sports. So if you got stuck in an avalanche. Children's toys. This is actually second semester work where they have to research and design a children's educational toy. So they have to learn how children think, they have to learn how they play, they have to learn about what's safe for children, and then it has to be made out of wood. So they have to go into the wood shop and then build it, make it. This is for children with cerebral palsy to help them communicate and to give them therapy at home. So I think what's really cool about product design is this opportunity to change someone's life, to improve their life, to potentially save their life. So this is insulin tape for diabetes, which is one of the number one diseases affecting us. So it's a much simpler, more effective, and less invasive way. And then we have a new track within product design that's a focus on soft goods and apparel, because this is another field that's really on the rise, as is wearable technology. So think about wearable functional items such as sports or athletic shoes, or dog bags, whatever, but things that have an additional function other than just keeping us clothed. And as I said, wearable technology is very much on the rise right now. So that goes great with our interaction design program, as well as our surface design. So we've got all these great potential collaborations happening in this community. And they happen a lot. And then the last one's a biggie. It's a program we're really well known for. We're considered pretty much the best at this, which is transportation design. Very car-centric, has been. We are moving past that. And if you break it down, you think about it, transportation design, the function stays the same. It's how you get from point A to point B. So then the other things that are under consideration and pretty significant is definitely the look, the shape, the form of that transportation, as well as thinking about economics, thinking about solving some of the problems that face us in terms of transportation design. Where are we going with this field? But a lot of it is just making these really cool, good-looking vehicles. And as I said, we are moving beyond being specific. We're not just car-centric. We've been designing yachts and boats and airplanes, but it has been fairly car-centric. But now we offer 2 new tracks. One is specifically on interiors, which again, this is an area, a space that's continually evolving, especially as we move toward the autonomous car. Again, also goes great with interaction design, goes great with environmental design, so definitely transportation design students take interaction design classes. And then into other methods of mobility, so looking at marine, looking at motorcycle, looking at personal mobility, looking at mass transit as well. So again, kind of facing some of those issues that plague the field of transportation. So those are the 11 undergraduate degree programs. We'll look at a couple of our alumni. First, we'll look at our track record. We always do a survey 1 year out and 5 years out. The last survey completed showed that 1 year out, we had a 92% placement rate, which means employed in your field. 5 years out, 95%. Now these were a little bit lower response rates because we used a different method. I've been at ArtCenter 6.5 years. I've never seen that dip below 85%, and some of those years were very rough years in the US because we were in a recession. And that's consistent 1 year and 5 year out, and that means employed in your field. So I've never seen it dip below 85%, which makes my job easier. I don't have to feel like I'm just telling a lie or telling a story, a yarn up here. And then this company called coreflat.com, we had nothing to do with this. We just got the news, and it showed that our graduates earned salaries starting out from about $66,000 to $124,000, and this was done over 2 years ago, I guess, now. And that our graduates earned $25,000 more on average than graduates from our competitors, which is, again, why I like working at ArtCenter. So we'll look at a couple stories. This is Tim Khob, graduate of our environmental design. He has a company called 8 Inc., based in Singapore, but has branches all over the world, and most famous because he was hired by Steve Jobs to design the first Apple store. To really set the tone of what is environmental spatial design, spatial experience design, and he designed the iconic glass one that is still in New York, right at about 5th Avenue, close to the park. Pam Fujimoto is a creative director for a company called Wong Doody, an ad firm called Wong Doody, which is started by ArtCenter as well. But one of her main clients is Adidas, so she really works with their overall identity and visual branding. Jorge Pardo is a graduate of our undergraduate BFA, or Bachelor of Fine Arts, Fine Art program. So he only has a BFA, and he is an internationally recognized exhibiting artist who does huge projects. But he also, or equally, was awarded the MacArthur Genius Grant, which is a really big deal, something you don't apply for, you just get this honor. Chris Bangle, if you like cars, particularly BMW, you probably have liked some of his designs. He was chief designer at BMW for several years and responsible for multiple BMW series. He's left them. He now has his own independent design firm still in Germany, but just an amazing designer. And then Martha Rich is an illustrator who's super funny, and that's how she makes a living, drawing. So she's had her work in Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, Martha Stewart, New Yorker, New York Times, all over. And she recently did that cat that's similar to that cat, but in just black on a gray t-shirt, and the bubble said, "Stop talking," which I think is really funny, because I'm sure our animals look at us and they're like, just stop talking. But it went viral. I was walking in San Francisco and I saw someone wearing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she could not make enough to keep up with the demand, which I thought was really great. Yves Bahar, designer up in the Bay Area, product designer, has a company called Fuse Project, which is all about sustainability, innovation, and social commitment. So he has, similar to like Tom's Shoes, he's been doing these giving back or donating funds. But I think what's interesting about Yves Bahar is that the San Francisco Museum of Art, there's a lot of things interesting about him, he's an amazing designer, but the San Francisco Museum of Art did a retrospective on him, which is pretty interesting to me because that's our cultural institution, right? Art, and now they're doing shows on design. So that shows you where design now lives in our society. It has this newfound like appreciation, which I think is really exciting. And then last but certainly not least, Zack Snyder graduated from our film program. He's responsible for movies such as Man of Steel, Watchmen, or 300. You probably may have seen some of his movies. But if you were familiar, if you watch the credits, you'll see that, credits go on forever, right? But the first stack of them are all ArtCenter. He tends to want to work with people he knows were prepared and educated, and so it's a network. You're coming into a network. So all of that, if that interests you, the application process is very straightforward and can be all done online. Sans one big part is not quite as straightforward, but you need to fill out the application. Very straightforward. Does include some essays, and that is your chance to tell us why we want to invite you to come join our family. So you need to do that. We need to get transcripts, high school and beyond. Anything short of another bachelor's degree, we still need high school. If you have your bachelor's degree, we don't require high school anymore, and those would need to be translated for us. As international students, you do not need to do SAT or ACT scores, but you will need to submit an English proficiency test, either the IELTS or the TOEFL. And then the most important out of that list is that portfolio. And as I mentioned at the start, we don't do a foundation year, so all portfolios need to be major specific. And all those portfolios or requirements can be found online. I brought a couple catalogs that can be kept here as well, but certainly online is always going to be the most up to date. We have rolling admissions, and we admit 3 times a year. So we bring in a class in the fall, we bring in a class in the spring, and for all programs, and for some programs in the summer. So there's a semester not that far away you can always shoot for. With the exception of entertainment design, we don't have deadlines. It's rolling admissions. Those are our priority dates, and they're just that. They are not a deadline. So if ArtCenter is your goal, the time to apply is when you're ready, when you've got your portfolio ready to go, and you've got all the other requirements ready to go, and are ready to take that deep dive and make that commitment. As international students, you can be considered for scholarship. Obviously, financial aid is not available to you, but you can still be considered and receive scholarships. Scholarships for ArtCenter are based on 2 big factors: merit, and that's the strength of you, with the portfolio being the most important determining factor in that, and then also need, which with international students is a little trickier to ascertain, but we do try to figure that out. Then last steps, I handed these cards around. I didn't even say anything about them, but if you take a minute and fill them out, that will get you information emailed to you specific to the program you're interested in. And we do, every month we do an online event. The admissions office hosts an online event, and it's often our faculty chairs talking about their departments. We've done portfolio workshops, we've done Design Matters stories, we've had alumni speak. So if you fill out that card, that will get you invited to these online events where you sign in and you participate. So it's really pretty cool. So definitely, if you would like to participate in that, it's going to be on our time frame, not your time frame, so you might have to get up in the middle of the night or something. But it's still a really great way to interact and learn more and be present and get, just more information. So if you take a minute, fill that out, I'll take them back to the States with me and make sure that they get into our system. So please, you're more than welcome to email me. I just always ask that you just let me know where we met, so I have a little point of context, okay? Any questions? It was a heck of a lot of information, I know. All right, then, come find out.